We're almost done with the Bone Club raid. You gotta raid smarter, not harder. Come on, give me a loot room, let's go. Yes, loot room! Hey, what's going on, guys? Here's a sneak peek at what my base is looking like after spending a few days here in the Rustralasia server. For those of you who don't know, Rustralasia is a 500 population vanilla server, and as I'm sure you can imagine, starting off on a server like this is very difficult for anybody, let alone a solo player. But it is possible. I just wanted to share with you guys some of the general tips, principles, and habits that I've used over the past 2 days to get to where I am now. And just to clarify, this is not really a comprehensive guide, just a collection of the good, the bad, and the ugly that I've gone through over the past few days. But regardless on whether you're on a 500 pop server or a 50 pop server, if you're an army of 1 or an army of 5, hopefully some of these tips will be able to help you out. The general principles can easily be translated to whatever your specific situation is calling for. But I've broken this video up into 7 sections with timestamps in the description, so you can kind of skip around and see what you want to watch, and I'm not really wasting your time. One of the biggest mistakes that players make is mismanaging their keys. At this stage in the game, you're very vulnerable, and it's very easy to just make a simple mistake that could end up costing you your base. And I'm sure this has happened to most of us. You've either gotten locked in or out, you accidentally gave your keys to someone else and they broke in, and it really does suck to lose so much over something that was so preventable. And the method that I use requires a bag in both your airlock and your loot room. Before you head out to go farm or do whatever you gotta do, just put all the gear you'll need in the box in your airlock, and make sure you never take your loot room key out of your loot room. Now go spawn back in the airlock and place your front door key in a stash nearby. And the great thing about this technique is that if someone happens to kill you while you're stashing your key or on your way back to your base, they'll only be able to access your airlock. They cannot get back into your loot room. But when you're done taking care of your business, just repeat the process in reverse. And it is a bit of a hassle, but it's just one of those things where you gotta sacrifice convenience for security. In my opinion, investing a few seconds to getting in and out of your base is without a doubt worth it. Alright, I already know that this is going to be a little bit controversial, but I definitely believe that it's necessary to KOS people near your base for the first day or two, and that includes farmers. A lot of people are kind of morally against killing farmers, and I am too, but only when it's a clan or someone who's fully geared just being a troll and mowing down nakeds. But as a solo player, you're literally at the very bottom of the food chain, and killing farmers definitely benefits you without a doubt. The demand for stone nodes and hemp is very intense for the first few days, and solo players are at a huge disadvantage. Not only can groups obviously gather more materials because of their sheer numbers, but they can also be able to better challenge other farmers for resource-rich areas. And unfortunately, the most efficient way for solo players in smaller groups to begin tipping the scales in their favor is to kill other resource gatherers. Even if you farmed all day, you still cannot keep up with the larger groups of clans. But in the end, it all comes down to what your playstyle is. For the first day or two, the benefits of killing farmers is just too enticing not to do it.
Lots of C4 in my base. GG you. I can't wait to enjoy the loot.
As a solo player, you're not really going to be able to afford to lose high-end weapons like AKs and bolts too often, and as such, you're definitely going to need to learn how to use weapons like bows, pipes, and spears. They're very cheap, and you can actually get a whole lot done with them. I'm sure you've all seen what players like Zuckles can do with practically next to nothing. They're also very fun to use. I actually prefer a bow over an AK, just because in a gunfight, I've got so much more practice with it, and it just feels so much more comfortable to use. But of course, the best way to get better with anything is just to practice. So don't be afraid to go grab a bow and have a bit of fun at the dome or airfield or something. It'll cost you next to nothing, and you'll never know what you get out of it. But as a quick pro tip, if you're ever being chased by somebody, run in a diagonal left direction. That's what this guy was doing here, and it was probably inadvertently, but it absolutely makes it harder to line up a shot. And finally, don't be afraid to get into fights. Even if you're at a bit of a disadvantage, you'll never know what you're capable of if you just live locked up in your base like a hermit. But for some in-the-moment advice, take your time, don't panic, never stand still, and only take shots that you'll think you'll land. You don't want to waste time and ammo spamming shots. And of course, know your limits, but don't be afraid to test them. You'd be surprised at what you can accomplish. You really need to go into the attitude with you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. As a Rust player, you need to minimize the amount of risks you take. Right here I got lazy and sacrificed security for convenience instead of the other way around. I should have checked to see if I was being camped, but instead, I ended up losing a few thousand stone in an armored door, which definitely set me back a whole lot. I was pretty angry with myself for being so stupid. But another way you can minimize the amount of risks you take is by making frequent loot runs while farming. After every few trees or stone nodes I knock down, I normally go stash it somewhere, normally in my base or in a small stash in a bush nearby. So that way if someone does happen to kill you while you're farming, you will only lose a fraction of what you gathered instead of all of it. Now we're at my favorite part of the video, which is early raiding, where all you have is your wits and a bit of elbow grease and you have to see what you can do. I'm sure you've all seen the basics of economy raiding, such as bows, windows, keys, or building into a base, but a lot of people aren't really aware of what bone club raiding is. You find a backwards sheet metal door, which is when the handle's on the right side. You can break in within just 5 to 10 minutes and only 17 bone clubs. Each club does 15 damage, and this can be done with armored doors too, but it'll obviously take a bit longer. But if you have a handful of people hacking away at it, the health points literally just melt away. A lot of people place their doors wrong. They're either not aware that doors have a soft side, or they're misinformed and place them backwards accidentally. But you do need to be careful because other players will try and counter raid you. It is pretty loud. But people think it's wrong to raid noobs because they don't really know any better. And I'll try to help them if I can, obviously, but the way I see it, if I don't take advantage of it, somebody else will. And I'd much rather be the one to end up with the loot. The guy I actually just killed a few minutes ago came back 3 more times, and he eventually told me that him and his boys were actually set to raid that base in a few hours, so better me than them, I guess. When it comes to blueprints, you're truly at the mercy of luck and chance. Just place a bag near a monument and see what you can accomplish with just a rock and a dream. On this run, I got a face mask and a C4 blueprint, but you normally won't be that lucky. But every once in a while, you get something marketable like a rocket, and you should be able to make a logical trade with somebody. Some logical trades are, for example, like a rocket for a rocket launcher, or a bolt for an AK, or a pick for a hatchet. And basically the way it works is you craft them what they need in your base, and then they craft what you need in your base, and then everyone's happy. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and maybe you might have even learned something. But as a quick thank you, I'm giving away a free copy of Rust. So if you have a friend who might want the game, just tell them to come on by. To enter, all you need to do is leave a comment on this video, and I'll announce the winner in about a week or so. So drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and please sub for more Rust content and Steam giveaways. Thank you guys, I'll see you in the next one.